You checked your budget app this morning. Every category was green. You didn't buy the coffee, you skipped the takeout, and your account is still lower than it was last month. So what happened to your money? Here's what's actually happening to your money. A budget only tracks where your money goes on paper. It doesn't touch the part of your brain that's actually making the decisions. That part runs on shortcuts, not spreadsheets. And those shortcuts were never designed to manage a bank account. Think about the last time you got a bonus, a refund, or a bit of unexpected cash. Did it go into savings? Or did it feel like money that was somehow safe to spend? Most people treat it as separate from their real money, even though it's sitting in the exact same account. The economist Richard Thaler has a name for this. He calls it mental accounting. Your brain sorts money into little labeled buckets: rent money, fun money, bonus money. And it treats those buckets as if they can't touch each other, even when the number in your account doesn't care what label you gave it. This is the first reason your budget keeps failing you. You're not one spender, you're several, depending on which mental bucket you're pulling from. A dollar earmarked as bonus gets spent faster and looser than a dollar earmarked as paycheck. Same dollar, different behavior. Your budget assumes you treat every dollar the same way. You don't. Nobody does. Now here's the part that goes deeper than budgeting apps and spreadsheets. In 2013, researchers Sandil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir published a body of work on something they called scarcity. They found that when people are financially stretched, their brains actually behave differently. Not lazier, not less disciplined, differently. Scarcity narrows your focus so tightly onto the immediate problem, this bill, this week, this shortfall, that it becomes harder to plan clearly for anything further out. It's called a bandwidth tax. Worrying about money literally uses up mental capacity you'd otherwise use to make good decisions about money. Isn't that the cruelest kind of trap? The less you have, the harder it becomes to think your way out of having less. That's not a character flaw, that's a documented cognitive effect, and it happens to nearly everyone under enough financial pressure. So your budget is fighting two forces at once: mental accounting, which makes some money feel more spendable than the label suggests, and scarcity, which shrinks your ability to plan the moment money feels tight. No wonder green checkmarks in an app don't fix it. But there's a third piece, and it might be the biggest one. In the late 1970s, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky ran a series of experiments that changed how economists understand human decision-making. They found that losing money hurts roughly twice as much psychologically as gaining the same amount feels good. They called it loss aversion. Losing $50 doesn't just feel bad, it feels almost twice as bad as finding $50 feels good. Your brain is wired to avoid pain far more urgently than it's wired to pursue gain. So what does your brain do with that wiring? It avoids looking at the pain directly. Checking your balance after a rough spending week feels like touching something hot, so you don't check it. You round up your account balance in your head instead of down. You underestimate what you owe, not because you're bad at math, but because avoiding the number is less painful than confronting it. This is why so many people can tell you exactly what they earn, but not exactly what they spend. One number feels good to know, the other one doesn't. Put these three things together and the picture becomes clear. Mental accounting means you don't treat every dollar equally. Scarcity means financial stress shrinks your planning ability exactly when you need it most. Loss aversion means you actively avoid the information that would help you course correct. None of that shows up as a line item in a budgeting app, and none of it gets fixed by cutting out coffee. Here's a number worth sitting with. In the Federal Reserve's own survey on household economic well-being, a large share of adults said they wouldn't be able to cover a $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. Not because they don't have jobs, not because they don't have budgets, because the system managing their money was never built to account for how humans actually behave under pressure. So if budgeting alone isn't the fix, what actually helps? It starts with making the invisible visible. Automate your savings before the bonus bucket mental trick even has a chance to happen. Move the money before your brain gets to label it as spendable. Look at your real balance on a fixed schedule, not just when you're feeling brave, so avoidance doesn't quietly become your financial strategy. And build in a small, guilt-free spending category on purpose, not because discipline doesn't matter, because willpower is a limited resource, and pretending otherwise is exactly what keeps failing. None of this requires more discipline than you already have. It requires a system that expects you to be human, instead of expecting you to override thousands of years of cognitive wiring through sheer effort. You checked your budget app this morning. Every category was green. And for the first time, you understood why the check marks were never the problem. Your money wasn't leaking through bad decisions. It was leaking through a brain doing exactly what brains are built to do. Now you know where to look.